And welcome everybody to me, good way to start, to a nooner with me, much better. I'm Dave LaMont. It's a Friday, May 13th, and some interesting things to talk about. Actually, sports. I know, strange, isn't it? There's a lot of things sort of colliding regarding the NBA playoffs that have become really fascinating to me, and I wanted to chat it out with you guys. Uh, Panthers will probably wrap things up after Washington traditionally gagged away another big game, as they always do in the NHL playoffs, except the year they won the Cup. Trust me, from somebody who's rooted for that franchise since 1973, when I used to go to games in the old Capitol Center, the year the Washington Caps debuted with eight, 8 wins. So I am a long-suffering fan, but the Panthers are better, and I'll probably put more money on them to win the Stanley Cup after they win this series against Washington. But the NBA is going through a really fascinating thing right now involving the collapse of the Sixers, the continued strength of the Heat, and the guy who might be the most dangerous guy in the entire league, and you're not talking enough about him. So we'll start with that, and we'll get to the Heat. There are two players, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, although I could pull them up, in the history of the league who have put together numbers like this in the playoffs. One of them is named Michael Jeffrey Jordan. The other is Luka Doncic. Luka is averaging 32.5, 9.3, and 8.5 assists per game. Michael did 33.4 points, higher scoring by a point, 6.4 rebounds, and 5.7 assists. Probably took more shots, although Luka, when necessary, does what he has to do. This guy is one of the most unique players I've ever seen. When my son was interning with the Mavs, by the way, he says Luka's a good dude too. We watched a lot of Mavericks games that year until COVID crashed the season. And this is 20-year-old Luka then, turned 21 in Miami, actually. Just remarkable, gifted talent, smart. You know, he another one of those guys that you look at him and you're like, no. And then you watch him play, and it's, yeah, he has Larry Bird-esque qualities about him. I don't know if he's as mean as Bird was, but he kind of is, because he has a softer visage than Larry Legend ever did. But he's equally as devastating. Bird probably a better shooter, but as passers, they're pretty damn equal. Luka does something that I rarely see guys do. He dribbles into more crap and more landmine areas than anybody I've seen, and figures out a way out of them. It's almost like a challenge for himself. Like the guy who goes to the Sudoku hardest level right away without working his or her way up. All right? That's what he does, and it's really something to watch. Could he shoot a little better? Yeah, but that step back three still works a lot. And he has good size. Defensively, he plays the passing lanes well. Are you going to beat him one-on-one? Yeah, but he'll get you back. He was dominant again last night. I don't know if Dallas can win in Phoenix. This series has been nothing but home team victories. But if he doesn't frighten you when he walks on the floor, you're nuts. Your basketball IQ is in the minus numbers if that guy doesn't frighten you. Not every great player has to be able to leap 50 feet in the air to be great. Now, Luka can dunk if he has to, but really, that's why you watch him just dunk? I don't think so. His IQ and his ability to pull this stuff off is, and he's 22 years old. Do you dig it? Really something special to watch. And I hope you take some time to watch the Mavs in the playoffs, either this Game 7 that's coming up, and if they advance, and they very well might. It's been a weird series. There have been some real blowouts. We haven't had that. Who's going to win one of the buzzer lately? The game in 5 was a blowout. Game 6 was a blowout. I think Game 4 was a blowout. And it's been, when you win big here. So Phoenix could easily win this game and survive, because a lot of people thought they were unbeatable coming into the playoffs. Oh, it's going to be Phoenix. Whoever comes out of the East is going to lose to Phoenix. Well, I guess that could still happen, but not as automatic as we first thought it was. So the Heat's made the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're going to have a difficult Eastern Conference Finals. And they're actually going to run into a team that has some balls, unlike the 76ers. Now, First off, I'm not going after Joel Embiid. The guy played with essentially a broken face, and an injury that might have even had a bigger effect was a messed up, I think it's a torn thumb ligament. Now, I've never had anything like that. I've had my share of nicks and scrapes, but I've never had anything like that, nor have I ever tried to play basketball with anything like that. It sounds pretty bad. So he showed up. Now, he had a horrible game 5 that included getting hit in the face with a ball that caused obviously some more pain. And he'll get healthy, and he still should be the core of that Philadelphia team. But what they do with it after that, this is what I wanted to get into. Because just imagine if Jimmy Butler had stayed in Philadelphia and he had done the right thing and kept him. A Butler Embiid combo would be pretty difficult, and you wouldn't have needed to trade for James Harden or the person who used to be James Harden. I wouldn't want to be James Harden waking up this morning, although he's probably doing it on a large pile of money with many beautiful women, to quote a line from The Simpsons. But James Harden's reputation is taking a terrible beating today, and it's going to take a terrible beating, and the Sixers are going to take a terrible beating, and they deserve it. Sometimes you can overthink things in this world, regardless of your job, and that's exactly what Philadelphia did. They overthought it. And then, because Ben Simmons ends up with a variety of problems, including apparently a bad back that we didn't know anything about until the season ended, and all the teasing that he would play, he might play, he's here, he's on the bench, that was a disaster. They've got to figure out what to do with him. And how serious. Back surgery are not two words you like to link together. It doesn't always work. So I don't know what's going to happen with Ben Simmons, but Philadelphia is not even a hot mess. It's like a tepid, lukewarm mess. It stinks right now. And they were exposed by a team that simply works and plays more together and plays harder. And if there's ever a guy who epitomizes the attitude of this franchise, other than Alonzo Mourning in his days with the Heat, and it's not even Dwayne Wade, it's Jimmy Butler. A guy who gets better in the postseason, which something Dwayne Wade did also. But Wade, because he was a prettier player to watch than Butler, because Dwayne did things in the air, and, he's a different player than Jimmy Butler, and he's Miami's greatest player of all time, even over LeBron, because LeBron just didn't stay here long enough. But Jimmy Butler represents what this franchise wants. A representative. He is that hard ass toughness, play through everything that Pat Riley adores. This is what the Miami Heat wants you to know they are. That's what they are. And that's what, and the other thing they do so well is they take a Strus, a Vincent, they take guys like that, Tyler Hero to an extent too, and they make them better. And that is development. That is on the coaching staff, it's Eric Spoelstra, and the assistants. That's why Spoelstra is already regarded as one of the best coaches of all time and should be. And he has this team in a position to at least make the finals for the second time in 3 years. I'm not guaranteeing they're going to get there, and I'm not guaranteeing they're going to win. But if you don't think they have a chance, then you're making a mistake. And you don't think Jimmy Butler, who I can tell really enjoys winning, you don't think Jimmy Butler wakes up today utterly thrilled that he buried the team that got rid of him for no intelligent basketball reason other than they didn't think I guess they put all their faith in the Ben Simmons basket. What a mistake that turned out to be. Everything you didn't know about Ben Simmons is on the highlights on YouTube when he passes up a layup in the dying seconds of a game against Atlanta in the playoffs. He is literally under the basket, and he passed it to a teammate who got fouled. It's not working out for Ben Simmons right now. I don't know how he can stay in Philadelphia. They may have to trade him. They may have to go through the process to Electric Boogaloo. Meantime, the Heat just chug along. You have a brilliant executive, you have a brilliant coach, and you get guys in there who accept this is what I have to do. James Harden, remember all the talk about Harden, and I said he wasn't going to come here, and I said he would have been a terrible, terrible fit. Could you imagine Harden jiggling up and down a practice court here? No. His personality doesn't fit it. Could he play? Of course he can play. That's not the point. But Styles make fights, as my buddy says, and personalities fit in certain places. Right now, James Harden is a man without a fit. I don't think he's going to stay in Philly. Then, God forbid they pay him a max contract. Nobody in their right mind should do that. Harden's lack of commitment to conditioning and to good teamwork has to make him toxic. Now, naturally, somebody will think they can reform him. And you know what? I'm not rooting against the guy. If he finds himself in a new team and a new position and maybe a new outlook on his career and he gets in shape, look, the guy can still play, but disappeared in the second half, was booed in Philadelphia. That's a bad situation. And I think it has to change. And he has to change. And if he's all about just making coin, well, he's done a pretty damn good job of that. But his career is just in the wrong direction right now. Meantime, and this is why I like Jimmy Butler, and this goes to one of my favorite things about some well-known professional athletes that I like. This term I'm going to use goes back to, and it's two ways to use it, but I don't know how many of you ever read the book Ball 4 by the late Jim Bouton. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Even though the book came out when I was 10 years old, and hint, that's a long time ago. The book is a diary of the then expansion Seattle Pilots, who are now the Milwaukee Brewers. And Bouton, a former Yankee great pitcher, at one time a 20-game winner and a World Series winner, was making a comeback after developing arm problems and wrote a diary. And it's a remarkable piece of work. In the last century, as we closed out the century, the New York Times put it on the list of the best 100 books of the century. The only sports book, I believe, the only sports book to make it. That should tell you something. Anyway, one of the terms that he brought in was red ass, which is basically a hard ass, a guy who plays hard all the time, who's a mean competitor, not a guy looking to hurt someone, but a guy who used a baseball pitch. The ultimate to me was Bob Gibson or Don Drysdale, guys like that, the guys who threw the ball here when you dug in. Those guys are hard asses. They're red asses. And I like guys like that. I know some of you just get sick of Tom Brady, but you know what? The guy's a hard ass. That's why I like him. Peyton Manning was too. They're hard asses. They demand better from themselves. And if they're demanding from themselves, they're demanding of you as a teammate. Tiger Woods, at his best, not the guy we have now with all the injuries and all the troubles he's had, but at his best was a hard ass. And so's Jimmy Butler. And I like guys like that. Again, we're talking about dirty players. We're talking about a guy who just is going to do everything possible to win, and is going to demand that from everyone else. Now, a while back when I had that little dispute with he and Eric Spoelstra and Udonis Haslem got involved and all that, I put it up on social media. And I said, this is really interesting, but don't read too much into it. And I put it up because I thought it was kind of interesting. You don't usually see that kind of thing during a game. Practices, I'm sure it goes on a little bit more. Did I think anything was wrong with it? No. Was I trying to be an agent provocateur? Not really. And if you thought I was, I guess that's on me. But my point is hard ass. That's what this organization's about. And that's what Jimmy Butler is about. That's why he's perfect here. And he would have been perfect in Philly, working with Joel Embiid. But they fired the coach. They brought in Doc Rivers. They brought in the general manager from Houston who thought James Harden was a good idea. You know the rest. Ben Simmons is now languishing somewhere else. Brooklyn languished, gone. Philly languished, gone. And here's the Heat, maybe two of the last 3 seasons in the finals, the bubble year and maybe this year. Although, again, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Boston and Milwaukee. It is going to be difficult. Or Milwaukee. But still, you're there. Final thing. You know I like the NFL. I mean, we've got familial interest in the NFL. And yes, I'm interested in the schedule. to see where the Packers are playing. And I know they're playing here, and I know they're playing in Tampa. And I'm shocked that game is not a Sunday night primetime game. The Packers and the Bucks, Rodgers and Brady. Seriously? How do you throw that up in the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday as an afterthought? But anyway, I diverse or divulge or whatever. Regret, but digress. That's the word. We are at the point where the league, and don't blame them for it, has turned scheduling into this little leaks. Well, there's going to be this game is going to be on Christmas, and we have this Monday night football doubleheader, and then we're going to give you the rest of it later. I don't care that much. Put out the schedule. Let me look at it. Let me see what games I'm going to go to that the Packers are playing, and then we'll take it from there. Thanks very much. Leave me alone. But now it's just turned into this ultra-hyped, overdone media event. I mean, what's next? Getting excited about a 3-day draft? Wait. Yeah, come on now, guys. Look, let's just have the schedule reveal. Here it is, everybody. There's the schedule. But you're going to watch, even though all the people who said they were never going to watch football again because some guy took a knee, you're still watching. Or the people who complain, this game is soft. Meantime, we're losing guys left and right with head injuries and all sorts of people who retire early because they're trying to put their bodies through it. But nah, you're still watching too. Yes, you are. So how about we tamp down this scheduling enthusiasm? Just go, all right, look at the interwebs, everybody. Here's the schedule. We'll see you soon. And speaking of things that need to be tamped down, holy crap, do I feel bad for Tua Tagovailoa and the video of his passes to Tyreek Hill that the Dolphins social media account and Pro Football Talk and some others have shown. It was not, well, put it this way, it wasn't exactly, who's got a hose? Oh, Justin Herbert. Oops. Throwing the ball 60 yards on the line. It's Tua. He's accurate. But this is, as Allen Iverson once said, practice. We are talking about practice, not a game, practice. Practice. About 18 more practices and I'll catch up. So pass that little to it. Okay. Guess what? There's nobody in his face while he's throwing it. He's not on the run. He's not scrambling. Tyreek Hill is not covered. It's practice. And everyone's losing their minds over this. Call me. This is the other thing. Sometimes we get excited about things that you don't need to get excited about. Spring football games. Ooh, I think we're going to be tough this year. Really? Who did you play? Oh, you played yourself. Okay. It's silly to me. It's truly silly. So, I don't know what to tell you about Tua and Tyreek. We don't know if it's going to work out. We're not going to know until the season actually starts. We're not going to be able to tell squat by practice. Now, them putting the time in, them working extra hours, that's stuff that will show up in games, and that will matter. Because great wide receiver quarterback combos do spend extra time together and get to know each other and do a lot of things on instinct. Because in the NFL, when you have 1 to 2 to maybe 3 seconds to throw a football before you get your teeth caved in, you have to have good timing with people. So we get excited over nothing, which we're really good at, or jumping to a conclusion before all the facts are in, which we're really good at. One of my favorite things to do, and these are some people who are buddies of mine, I love going through Twitter timelines after a game is over and read all the panic tweets when whatever team they're talking about is behind, or maybe the other team is playing a little bit better, and then the game ends up being a blowout like this Sixers Heat game was, and you go and you want to just get a hold of them and go, did you look at what you tweeted like a half hour ago? Could you wait a little bit? It's hysterical to me. Like when the Panthers fell behind 3-0 against Washington in Game 5. Yeah, that's a grim scenario. No crap, it's a grim scenario. But if there's a team that was built to come from behind like that and has done it, that's the Panthers. And they did it and put Washington in a horrible position if you're the Caps, even though they're going to be at home. Jumping to conclusions about Tua and Tyreek, about the Caps, about James Harden working in Philly. What a great trade this was with the Nets. Double. So, now that we've learned our lessons for the day, have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you in a week. I'm going to Vegas, man. I need to get out of here for a few days. So, I'll see you. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your sports. And don't worry, we won't have a triple crown this year because the horse isn't there and the jockey gets suspended. For those of you who hate horse racing, good day for you. But yeah, kind of a shame. You want the triple crown. You want the hope of immortality, even if it was an incredible long shot horse. But so that's all. I'll see you.